Today we're going to be testing the new Inferno 8 main hand for Wizard, and let me tell you, this is a good one. So today we're going to be looking at the new main hand for Wizard, and I'm going to be comparing it in a couple of my setups to what I normally use in place of this. So the first essence that we're going to be comparing it to is Thunderbird's Bite. So with this essence, this increases the Lightning Nova damage by 19%, and Lightning Nova cooldown is decreased by 10%. So we're going to be testing this first. I'm going to do a 30-second burst, and then we'll test the new main hand and see which gives us more damage in this build. So this is actually one of the spam build variations. I'm not always good at aiming with this, especially on mobile. Sometimes where I aim it, it doesn't always land, but it will give us an idea of the damage anyway from this setup. And I want to see which comes out on top in comparison in all of my builds as well. So there's a couple of builds that I use slow time in, so I want to obviously test this essence out in both builds to see if it makes a difference in more than just one setup, and obviously compared to more than one main hand. So we're coming up to 30 seconds now. I always manage to pause it at the wrong time. So we've got 200 and let's say 240 million, because the damage per second is 7.9 million. So 240 million in a 30-second burst, and that is with Thunderbird's Bite. So we're now going to swap the main hand with the new main hand at the essence transfer, and then we'll test this again. Now obviously I'm going to need to go out of the training ground as well. So we're going to be looking at Ossified Chromotera. So slow time also increases your skill damage by 22.8% for 3 seconds. Slow time cooldown is also decreased by 10%. Now that is from the unlocked, what's it called? I can't even remember. Awakened. Oh my god, my brain. That is from the Awakened slot. So Ossified Chromotera. So as I said, let's look at the description again here. Slow time also increases your skill damage by 22.8% for 3 seconds. Slow time cooldown is decreased by 10%. Now it's increasing your skill damage for 3 seconds, but obviously in PvP that is a huge amount of time. So this could potentially work really nicely in some of your PvP setups, especially if you're using spam builds or anything that actually has slow time included in your setup for PvP. So there's a lot of promise with this. So we're going to go and test this out on the dummy now. Again, we're going to do 30 seconds. Let's go see what we get from this with this new helm. And you can see the damage already is looking pretty nice from this. I'm impressed with that, and obviously the cooldown on slow time isn't actually too slow anyway. So because you can keep activating this, you're going to get that burst every time you activate that for 3 seconds. So obviously with a cooldown of, what is the cooldown? Let's double check in a second what the cooldown is on slow time. So it's like a 10-second cooldown on slow time. We got 30 seconds there. So with this, we have 9 million damage per second and 272 million damage. So that is an increase of 32 million in 30 seconds. So that would be an increase of 64 million in 1 minute. So this is a huge difference. And you can see obviously the damage per second is literally 2 million damage more. So really, really nice increase in this setup. So I'm quite happy with that result from this. Now we're going to test it again against my normal farming build. So in my farming build, I do also use slow time, but we use it in a slightly different way. We use a slightly different essence. And I want to see if we can get this decent increase in damage from actually using it in that setup as well as this spam build. So let's go ahead and test that now. So this is the farming build that you've all seen me use for such a long time, and I still really like this build. It works really nicely for Wizard, I find. So the main hand that I normally use here is Entropic Edge, and obviously we'll be testing this against the new main hand for Wizard as well to see which comes out on top. So let's go ahead and test this now. So obviously with this build I have to stand pretty close to the dummy so that my Lightning Nova essence obviously registers as well. This build isn't going to give as much damage as the spam build. Obviously it's a slightly different setup, and this is for kind of like lazy farming. It's nice in dungeons as well if you want to play something that's a little bit more easy on your thumbs. If you want to play something that's a little bit more relaxed and to have that more of a chill gaming experience, this is the build for that. So we'll test this. So 30 seconds, we've got 5 million damage per second and 154 million in 30 seconds. So we want to beat 5.1 million damage. So let's now inherit the essence again. Now my loadouts look a mess at the moment because I haven't finished sorting all of those for Inferno 8. So we've got Ossified Chromotera here again. I'm going to just pop out of here for a few seconds so that we can let that reset. And obviously 5.1 million damage in a second, per second, sorry, isn't a huge amount, especially compared to the spam build, which is why it's important to have different builds for different things. As I said, this is more of a lazy, chilled build, really nice for open world farming if you're just wandering around in the wilderness. I use this quite a lot in dungeons when I've got bleeding thumbs from playing the spam build as well, and it works nicely for that. So let's test this again with the new Ossified Chromotera and see what we get in 30 seconds now. And you can already see there's a pretty big boost there in the damage initially from this. And every time we activate that slow time, obviously it's going to increase all of our skill damage for 3 seconds. So this may come out slightly different and may come out stronger than previously. However, it's already dropping off here, which is kind of surprising. Let's activate that again. We're coming up to 30 seconds pretty quickly. Are we going to manage to activate it again before time is up? We are, but we have just a small increase there. So 5.5 million damage per second. So we've got an increase of 400,000 per second with this new main hand in this build as well. So overall, I would say it's a pretty promising main hand essence, especially if you're using slow time in your build, especially if you're stacking other essences into that. In the spam builds, I would say this is probably going to be a must-have now. I am really happy with the results from this. I've seen a big difference using it in my builds so far since it landed in game and since I found this. It was the first Inferno 8 essence I found. I actually found it on Monday. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. I've definitely seen an increase in my damage, as I said, and works really nicely in Helliquary Raids as well. So this was just a very quick test video. I really wanted just to give you top line look at what this new main hand is doing for Wizard. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Have you tried this yet? Have you found it? And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.
Official Diablo Partner.